one of the most controversial people in the makeup industry. This is a podcast about James Charles. So, let's talk about it.
Hello everyone, I'm S.
And I'm O.
And welcome to another episode of UnCancelled.
Today, as you know, our topic is James Charles.
And how he became the most famous makeup guru to now one of the most controversial people who has been cancelled multiple times.
Exactly. So, how did it all begin?
In around 2016, James Charles started to post makeup tutorials and just some tips and tricks on his Instagram. And he became really famous through it too. He also started YouTube and started posting just everyday makeup look.
And at first, people liked him. He seemed like a genuine guy. And that was until he became somewhat more famous. This is when theories started to develop.
From the very beginning, people have felt really controversial about James Charles and his attitude towards other people. There have been many times when he's thrown shade on other YouTubers, and sometimes they're on purpose and sometimes they're not. But now, in 2017, was when people really started to question if he deserves his fame.
Exactly. And
in 2017, he was called out for DMing guys who are younger than 18.
And this is only one of the many things that he's done, but this was what started his main problem. And at first he denied it.
Yeah, but then the boys who he was texting, they came out. And there was not just one, but multiple guys that he was texting. And they all came out and talked about how he was kind of, harassing him and harassing them and kind of, being kind of inappropriate with them.
Exactly. And at first, he denied all of these claims. He said that this was not true. And then afterwards, he then admitted that he did text them, but he did not know that they were underage. To him, he told the world that they told him they were over 18.
Yes, and this kind of shows how social media can be pretty, a dangerous place to be, you should never, be talking to people who are younger than you or younger than 18, but also, how do we know if they are, if they don't tell us? So, I don't know if it's true or not that he didn't know. He could have known, but because the boys did claim that he did know. But if he didn't, then what does it say to all the other people who are using social media? If, they get caught texting people who are younger than 18, do they know? Or is this just, another excuse to prove that they're innocent?
Exactly. Now, just to note that he did get canceled after this for a while, but after a couple of, months and so, everything went back to normal. He started posting again and people started to forget what he did. And this is also another display of how destructive our culture is, especially cancel culture, seeing as he was only canceled for a bit and then he was back to being normal.
Exactly. He even was able to make his own makeup palette and it became very popular. Everybody had it. I know people from our school who had the James Charles palette,
Exactly. And it's really weird to see because people were hating on him a lot because he was talking to underage men. And then they just stopped. They just, they completely changed their mind after a few months. And it really shows how our culture and our society revolves around each other and what other opinions.
Yeah, and then again in 2019, about 3 or 4 years later, he was canceled again for texting underage guys again.
Exactly, and this just shows how this is a reoccurring problem. And not saying that he didn't know that, or he did know that they were 18 or whatever. But it's just strange to me how it happened twice.
Exactly. Was he, not careful? I guess he didn't learn his lesson, And so he was canceled again, and he posted at first, he again denied all the claims, but then later he posted another apology video, and he talked about how he wants to take time to be more careful and learn about, how to be careful on social media. And, he was talking a lot about how, he wants to better himself and how he wants to do better.
Exactly. And it's weird to see because after a couple months later, he deleted that video. And that's actually really important to note because why did he delete an apology video? It's just strange. And he posted another one and it wasn't more of an apology, it was more like informative.
Yeah, he said that the apology video that he deleted was more like, he collected all this information to defend himself, but then the second, I guess not apology video, but more informative video, he talked about, how it was his fault as well. And, he talked about bettering himself and just being more careful. But is he really, working towards being better, or is this just going to keep on happening?
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, now people are really mad at him because he was, like, a really big icon, especially for, like, the LGBTQ representation. And because he did this, it really makes, like, it makes the whole community, it affects not just himself, but the whole community. And currently he is canceled, but we don't really know how long that will last since seeing how, like, our cancel culture is working so far, it's not even, like, it wouldn't be out of the blue if he was just uncanceled.
Exactly. Like, it's really normal for people to just change their minds because, it's old news. And, this kind of shows how fickle our minds can be. Like, we don't really look at the issue. We're like, oh, it's been like months. It's fine. We like this guy again. And then he does something wrong. And then we kind of, all gang up on him again. And, he could be totally wrong and, like, a bad person. But even then, how we all just, really hated on him, it must have really affected him as well. And, I personally don't think that cancel culture is, like, healthy because, it's like you don't really know who is real or who is true because, you're all behind screens and you're like, oh, we like this guy, and then a few months later, oh, we hate this guy, he's a terrible person, I always knew he was bad, So we don't really know.
Exactly. And with James Charles, he's been through a lot of drama. Like, there was even the Tati drama. And for those who don't know what that was, basically, Tati is another makeup or beauty guru. And she had this brand, right? And now James Charles, he decided to post a post of, like, this competition brand, right? And it was, like, a direct competition to Tati's brand. So Tati got mad. But, before, like, Tati at first didn't do anything about it until this other YouTuber who's also a makeup like person, they weren't very popular, but they posted a video of how Tati is getting too mad at James Charles, and that's when Tati decided to post a 40-minute video basically claiming that James Charles was a horrible person. And then that's when people started siding with Charles, and it just shows how, like, in our society, how people really rely on each other its approval, because Tati wouldn't have posted that video if that other YouTuber hadn't said, oh wow, Tati's a horrible person.
Yeah, exactly. She talked about how James Charles betrayed her by promoting the other brand, and, this kind of shows, like, how we take things really seriously nowadays as well, I get that there were competition, but, he was not, like, there was nothing that tells him, like, oh, just because your friend has a brand doesn't mean you can't promote other brands. And also, how all the people who canceled him before, they decided to take his side on this, and they were all like, oh, he's a better person, And so, again, shows how fickle-minded we are, how we don't, really look at the issue. We're just like, oh, like, everyone's doing this, I'm going to do this as well. Like, I didn't actually really know about this Tati issue at all, until, like, one of our friends told us.
Exactly, same here. And so that's when we started researching, and that's how we, like, found this out.
And a lot of things was like rumors, like how she told us what happened from her point of view, and we did more research and stuff. So, everyone can kind of like twist their words and how they're telling other people. How Tati, she also probably like, bent the truth a little bit just to show James Charles as worse, or maybe, the other YouTuber, he bent his words to like talk about Tati, it's like, there's no telling what the real truth is because, I mean, how are you going to know? You were not there behind the scenes.
Exactly. And I feel like right now, James Charles, he's right now currently canceled, right? And honestly, to me, I don't think he's a great person, personally, just because of the way he handles, like, his situation. Because when people cancel you, there's, like, a bunch of ways you can handle it, right? And you could take the time to acknowledge what you've done. And even though he did that, he deleted it, it's just weird to me.
Exactly. And also, it was not like the issue happened and then he apologized. He first tried to be like, oh, it wasn't me. I didn't do this. Everyone's wrong. And then after those other guys, they came out and talked about what happened. That's when he posted his apology. So I feel like, he was kind of doing it just because, he was caught red-handed or whatever.
Exactly.
He wasn't genuine about his apology because he did it again. So it kind of shows how, James Charles, he isn't really, I don't know how to, like, sincere about his apologies or, like, what he's saying. And I agree with you. There's, like, different ways to, kind of handle being canceled. Like, I know some other celebrities who have been canceled, and what they do is they just decide to completely change their image, and, they try to be more positive and more open about who they are, and they acknowledge how, before they were probably, like, pressured or something, and it's more understandable. But he's more like, just doing it because everyone kind of wants him to. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get that. And also, I feel like this whole situation, I feel like he should have, like, handled it a lot better, especially, like, since it was minors involved. And it's really sad to see how, like, the effects of social media, where, like, actual people who are underage are being taken advantage of. And we don't know what happened between them and James Charles, but the point is that he was older, and he was over 18. He had the responsibility. And even though he did say that, like, as soon as he found out, he blocked them immediately, we don't really know the truth behind that. And it's really scary to see that, like, big influencers and people that other people look up to, they usually, or not usually, but sometimes they aren't the person, like, the greatest person, and they could actually be even worse.
Exactly. Like, I remember when, I think I discovered James Charles when I was, like, in 6th grade. I was, like, searching up, like, makeup tutorials or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And he would come up, and I was like, oh my god, this guy's, like, really good at it. And I actually didn't know about all this drama, like, even in 2007, like, I actually learned about 2017 and everything, like, just now, when we decided to do James Charles for the episode. Before that, I didn't know about any of this, I knew he has some drama, like, I've seen, like, Instagram feeds or, like, just, like, the thumb tags on people's other YouTube channels, how they're talking about, oh, James Charles is, like, a horrible person, or he's throwing shade on other, YouTubers and stuff. So I've seen those, but I didn't know about how big the issue got of him texting underage.
And it's really scary to see that, because, like, these aren't, like, just drama over, like, YouTubers. They're usually just, like, disputes, right, between each other, like Tati and James Charles. But this wasn't, like, over a YouTuber. It was over, like, a child, and that just scares me.
Exactly. Actually, you know what? I think there's also this other thing I saw about how he was trying to flirt with a guy who was straight, and he was trying...
Oh, yeah, I saw that too. And that's even more, like, a lot of people are really offended by this, because the fact that he was... Basically, if he's flirting with a straight person, he's basically saying that your sexuality doesn't matter. Exactly. And that's just, like, the opposite of, like, he's gay, so, like, it doesn't make sense.
And that's just really disrespectful. And he cannot say that he didn't know, because the guy probably told him.
Yeah.
Or, there's, like, a video of him, telling people, oh, like, James Charles was, like, flirting with me even though he knew I was straight, and... it was, like, really disrespectful, and...
Yeah, it's not just disrespectful to, like, the person, the individual, it's disrespectful for the whole community, like, literally, it was rude to do that.
Exactly, and also because, James Charles, he's, like, he's really open with his sexuality, right? And so everyone kind of sees him representing the LGBTQ community.
Yeah.
And when he does something like this to the other people, kind of what kind of like influence does it put on those people? Like what do they see?
Yeah. James Charles has gone through like a lot of things, and I think we can all see that he's not the greatest person. But it's because of cancel culture that, he's lost a lot of subscribers, and because of this it's also impacted his like business, because he has like a makeup business, right? And like a lot of his customers are his subscribers, and a lot of his customers were only like, his customers because they liked his content. And the fact that he's canceled now, just it means he's losing a lot of money and a lot of sales as well.
Exactly. It's like of the few of the makeup tutorials that I've watched, it's usually using his makeup palette, right? So people like want to buy it so they can follow along and recreate the looks that he's created. But now that they're all canceling him, he's losing both subscribers and customers, and this is his job, right? It's kind of impacting his whole life, not just his social media presence, but also like his personal life of getting money, right? And like this could like affect other things in his life as well. Like if this continues and this isn't just like another trend that everyone's like, oh, let's just cancel him. If they actually stop even supporting him, he could like lose like other things in his life, like his house maybe if he can't afford it, and it could really ruin his entire life.
No, yeah, and I agree with this. And like this just shows how dangerous like cancel culture is, because it's literally like canceling someone's life. It's like, because usually people, they depend on like, well, you know how cancel culture works? Usually it works on people who depend on what society thinks of them. And the fact that like if they're canceled, it means society hates them, and that just basically makes them an outcast. However, he did technically do it to himself, which kind of brings up the question, is cancel culture even, like, did he deserve to be canceled?
Exactly. Like, what, like, did he bring this on himself, or did he bring this on himself, or was this, a mistake that people are taking a little too seriously? And, it's a big deal to, be accused of, like, kind of, I guess, harassing someone online, especially
and it's like,
underage.
and it probably, like, hurt him as, like, an individual, too, like, his own pride and his own, like, dignity.
Exactly. And, being, like, a social media presence, your whole life is out there. Everyone knows almost everything about you, and that's like really scary in itself. And now they know like all the mistakes you've made. I've like there's like other like child celebrities. When they grow up, like all the dumb things they've done as teenagers or whatever, it's all out there for everyone to see, and they judge them based on that. So like now the future generation, when they hear about James Charles, it won't be, oh, James Charles the makeup guru. It'll be James Charles, who was accused of texting underage guys, or
James Charles the pedophile, like stuff like that.
Exactly. And this kind of ruins like his future as well.
Yeah, and it ruins his own character. Like, it's really damaging, and it just shows how damaging like cancel culture is. However, on the contrary, if he did do these things, which he kind of did because he admitted to it, it's really sad to see, because this is a horrible thing. And, like, at the same time, maybe it's justifiable.
Exactly. It might help those other guys bring awareness to what's happening as well. So cancel culture can be good as well, because it's, like, kind of like, people's way of bringing justice, I guess, because I don't think he got charged for...
Yeah, he never got charged. But, like, at the same time, we don't know, like, if he's just texting, technically, there's no felony. There's no...
It's true.
But, like, the fact that it happened twice, it's just so... It's suspicious. It's strange.
Right? And I don't know, maybe he thought he wouldn't get caught because he's famous or popular.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people are saying. They're saying that, oh, if you have money, you have fame, you can get away with literally murder. And it's really sad, because technically this is kind of true in our society, especially with our legal system going on. Like, if you can afford a lawyer, you're good.
Right? And especially, like, in America, where everything is, like, privatized and, money buys everything.
Exactly. Okay, we're kind of getting off topic, but you kind of get the gist of it. Basically...
if you're rich, you have money, you have the power, you can basically do anything you want. And it's kind of true on his behalf. I feel like because he did get canceled, but I feel like he's still getting by. He still has a lot of supporters. And, like, I feel like if this was somebody else, some random person from the streets who was accused of texting some random people on the internet, I feel like it would be a lot worse for them. And people would hate on them a lot more than James Charles. Like, he's still, being able to sell his palette, his like makeup products, and he's still like making YouTube videos, right? I'm pretty sure he went like to Coachella.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he did. And it just shows how, like, okay, cancel culture is relevant, but it's not as severe as a lot of people think it is.
Yeah, it's not effective. I feel like people, they like, hate on you so much, but it's not effective because he's still out there, having fun, like living his life, while all of us behind the screens are just, hating on him.
Yeah. And I feel like personally, I don't like James Charles. I think he's not the greatest person, in my opinion. And I know that that's pretty controversial. Some people are going to say, well, your opinion doesn't matter. But, like, personally, I feel like he should have been, like, he deserved to be canceled.
Exactly. I feel like, it's not just the texting underage guys, which is a big deal.
Yeah, it's a lot of other
But he's
things.
also done, like, a lot of other things that, kind of make you question, is he a good person or not? He's, there's, like, been a lot of other YouTube videos that I've seen of him, being really rude and, kind of thinking he's a powerful, great person just because of, he calls himself, like, a makeup guru and, like, everything. So, I used to love his, like, makeup tutorials. I was like, he's a really good makeup artist, though. But, I'm not, like, his number one fan or anything. I'm not always, like, actually, I haven't really watched his, like, videos or anything in, like, a really long time. So, but I used to, think he was, like, a good person. So this kind of makes me question as well, like, as a kid, you don't really see all these things. Like, he's influencing all these people, like, the impact it has on them is pretty big.
Yeah, and also, like, the fact that he's, like, a really big icon, it's really damaging because he has to take the responsibility. He knows that he's an influencer, and he just doesn't handle problems efficiently, or correctly, I should say. And yeah, so that is basically all we have to say about James Charles.
Yeah, that concludes our episode, but, like, leave a comment.
Yeah, tell us what you think. So this is O.
And this is Zess.
And we're signing off.
Thank
See
you
next
for listening.
Week. Bye.
People would hate on them a lot more than James Charles. Like, he's still, being able to sell his palette, his like makeup products, and he's still like making YouTube videos, right? I'm pretty sure he went like to Coachella.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he did. And it just shows how, like, okay, cancel culture is relevant, but it's not as severe as a lot of people think it is.
Yeah, it's not effective. I feel like, people, they like, hate on you so much, but it's not effective because he's still out there, having fun, like living his life, while all of us behind the screens are just, hating on him.
Yeah. And I feel like personally, I don't like James Charles. I think he's not the greatest person, in my opinion. And I know that that's pretty controversial. Some people are going to say, well, your opinion doesn't matter. But, like, personally, I feel like he should have been, like, he deserved to be canceled.
Exactly. I feel like, it's not just the texting underage guys, which is a big deal.
Yeah, it's a lot of other
But he's also done, like, a lot of other things that, kind of make you question, is he a good person or not? He's, there's, like, been a lot of other YouTube videos that I've seen of him, being really rude and, kind of thinking he's a powerful, great person just because of, he calls himself, like, a makeup guru and, like, everything. So, I used to love his, like, makeup tutorials. I was like, he's a really good makeup artist, though. But, I'm not, like, his number one fan or anything. I'm not always, like, actually, I haven't really watched his, like, videos or anything in, like, a really long time. So, but I used to, think he was, like, a good person. So this kind of makes me question as well, like, like, as a kid, you don't really see all these things. Like, he's influencing all these people, like, the impact it has on them is pretty big.
Yeah, and also, like, the fact that he's, like, a really big icon, it's really damaging because he has to take the responsibility. He knows that he's an influencer, and he just doesn't handle problems efficiently, correctly, I should say. And yeah, so that is basically all we have to say about James Charles.
Yeah, that concludes our episode. But like, leave a comment.
Yeah,
on
tell
what
us
you
what
guys
you
think.
So this is O.
And this is Zess.
And we're signing off.
Thank
See
you
you
for
next
listening.
week. Bye.